want some wang.
Zilla sends his regards to Wang. You no mess with Lo Wang. Oh, look, you're coming apart. Bullseye!
Shadow Warrior was a first-person shooter released exclusively for MS-DOS and Macintosh by 3D Realms in 1997, one of the best years for first-person shooter games. It originally began development way back in early 1994 as Shadow Warrior 3D. Screenshots were released with another game they made called Hocus Pocus, and it looks a lot different than the one now. It was being made by the then popular 3D Realms, or Apogee, before they renamed themselves to 3D Realms, which gained critical acclaim for their genre-breaking game, Duke Nukem 3D. Both of these games were made on the Build engine, which though at the time looked nice, was graphically inferior to the game released a few months later, Quake. Many fans consider Shadow Warrior as an Asian version of Duke.
Holy cow! Look like Duke Nukem!
Though it's pretty identical, the build engine is a bit more advanced than Duke, using 3D voxels and more higher res sprite work. Weapons and inventory items use those 3D voxels instead of sprites, but can be disabled back to sprites if the computer wasn't powerful enough to render those 3D weapons. The box is even similar to Duke 3D's, and there's even a little thing on here that says, "From the creators of Duke Nukem 3D," right next to the protagonist, Lo Wang. Yeah, that's actually his name. First and foremost, I love this game to death and have many fond memories of playing this game with my younger brother and a few of my friends. But that doesn't mean I'm going to kiss this game's ass from start to finish. There's several things worth mentioning and I'll get to all of them as I go. The first thing you'll notice besides Lo Wang having a ninja-gasm and this cool yin-yang cursor is that there are 2 episodes to pick from. Back when these old games were popular, one of the main distribution methods was by releasing shareware. Games were usually broken into 3 or 4 episodes, which consisted of a good 7 to 10 levels, including a secret level and a boss battle at the very end of each episode. Shareware was basically when the company distributed the entire first episode for free, and if the user liked it, they paid for the full version and got the full game in the mail. Shadow Warrior isn't really broken into 2 episodes. The shareware episode, Enter the Wang, was the first 4 levels with a boss battle at the end and a cliffhanger to convince people even more to buy it. The other episode, Code of Honor, was the entire rest of the game in a continuous Doom 2 format. It had a whooping 18 lengthy levels. Well, probably 20 because they had 2 secret levels, but whatever. The physical release was of course released in a large box. It's amazing, nicely done and colorful with the cool red box and Lo Wang using the freshly cut Guardian head. It is embossed just like Duke in Blood, and I love it when boxes do that. The screenshots on the back to the game do some justice because it show off some really neat environments, got all the features, yada yada, typical build engine game box stuff. Inside it doesn't really come with much besides an ad or 2 in the game in a jewel case, and a jewel case sized manual. I don't think many people pay attention to stuff like this, but I friggin' love the disc. Yin Yang symbol with a bloody bullet hole in it. Story is pretty generic and not really worth going into, but I'm going to anyways cause review. So basically you play as a man named Lo Wang, and he was a professional bodyguard for a company called Zilla Enterprises, which had constant control over every major industry in Japan. At some point, Master Zilla, which is the leader of Zilla Enterprises, planned on conquering Japan using evil creatures or some crap like that. So being a man of honor, yada yada yada, Lo Wang quit after hearing this. Zilla realizes the threat Lo Wang poses and sends all of his minions or creatures or what the hell ever to go and kill Lo Wang. Near the end of the shareware episode, Lo Wang ends up finding out that Zilla's minions killed his old mentor, Master Leap. He finds Leap's daughter crying next to his corpse. Why she's naked though is beyond me. Maybe the level designers are pedos?
Master Leaf, what have they done? Your training is complete, Lo Wang. Avenge my death.
Lo Wang then hears his voice telling him various things throughout the game, usually at the start of levels.
Be careful, Lo Wang. A mighty hole awaits you.
Following his words, Wang goes on to avenge his death and defeat the mighty Zilla. Not Godzilla, but Zilla. Or, whatever. The game is very standard 90s first-person shooter type stuff, nothing really new here with the gameplay. You know, typical running around, killing everything in sight while you collect key cards and find secrets and blah blah blah. But that's really the only unoriginal thing about this game.
Roll your boat gently down to the stream. Whoa, I think my dinghy hanging out.
Everything else from the theme, to the weapons, enemies, level design, interactivity, and much more really make this game stand out. I mean, Jesus, look at how detailed this goddamn first level is. Jump out of the building, car alarm goes off whenever you touch it, watching some naked dude get his ass whipped on the news, secrets and shit, the pool filled with fish that'll bite you, ghosts at a train station, man, it goes on and on. Even the way you need to get one of the keys is a really cool, clever way. When you see the first key, it's this little mini RC car track set thing. Or, I don't know. So you think, oh, maybe this button will work. But when you press it, it controls this thing. So then you go and you try the other one. But that's still not the one with the key.
Go speed racer, go!
So you have to go and find a working RC controller and control the car through that. Get in the car to get through the door thingy so you can go back and get the key. This took me about 20 minutes to figure out when I played this for the first time as a kid. But I can say right now that's a really clever way to get the player immersed and explore. Also, something that was pretty new to, well, anything at the time was the ability to use vehicles. Most of the time they drive around blowing up and crushing anything in its path. Sometimes they don't work though, and you need to find a repair kit to use them and progress further through the level by blowing up a wall that's holding back the exit or some shit. One of the things that really pissed me off though was the up and down auto aim that most games had in this era of first person shooters. There's none of it. None. It lets you aim up and down, but it does the weird fake vertex sliding crap that happens in all of the other build engine games when you look up or down. That's tolerable though once you get to play stuff like this regularly, and it's pretty easy to get accustomed to the whole up and down aiming thing. But when you shoot, the bullets go straight to whatever your cursor on. So I mean, normally like it'll automatically aim at whatever you're trying to kill, regardless whether you're looking up or down, because games back then didn't really support up or down looking. But this game doesn't want to let you do that for whatever reason. Wang is probably also the most vocal of the bunch, spewing one-liners left and right like a horny prostitute.
Oh, look! You're coming apart! Holy shit! Holy pieces of shit! There can be only one! I stick a firecracker your ass! Are you ready to that move? Snatch people from hand! Banzai! Hello? Is a big bottom there? Cowabunga! Who put these here? Ow! It's a good day to die. Eat this pencil dick! How's that for kung fu fighting, you chicken shit? Whoops! Wang drops soap! You bend over, get it.
Sometimes you're forced to do some god-awful platforming sections, and while I love platforming when it's done right, I hate the platforming in this game with a goddamn passion. For one, it feels really unfitting, Wang feels too slippery for these types of sections, and on top of it, the enemy placement is horrendous. 2 points to the asshole developer that decided to spawn these bastards here.
It's all in the reflexes. It's all in the reflexes.
The weapons were pretty unique. You also got alternate types of firing modes, which was also pretty unique for 1997. Usually in most FPS games at the time, you can only use your fists as a melee weapon when you're out of ammo, and it sucks ass. Major ass. But here, your fists are overpowered and lightning fast. I mean, the screen can't even keep up with this. I'm pretty sure this is a reference to Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee or some other well-known martial artist. Probably something to the game's humor. On top of that, You get a sword that splits enemies in half in one swing of it. I mean, holy shit, look at this thing. As weak as it seems at first glance, it's one damn powerful sword. One neat little thing I didn't know if anyone else had really noticed or not was whenever Wang kills someone with either his fist or his sword, his hands get really bloody. But the second he swims in the water, they get cleaned up. Talk about attention to detail for a 90s game. You also get some shurikens, a quad shotgun type of thing, with its alternate fire being all 4 shells shot simultaneously, an Uzi that you can dual wield, which was also unique at the time. One thing I noticed was the Uzis have a reloading animation when the ammo drops to 100 while dual wielding, or 50 with the single Uzi. There's also a missile launcher that shoots normal missiles, heat-seeking missiles, or even a freaking nuclear bomb.
Stand by. 3, 2, 1. All systems ready. Warning.
These neat little bomb things that attach themselves to surfaces and explode whenever an enemy is near, called sticky bombs.
Sticky bomb, meet the Mr. Stupid!
A grenade launcher, a railgun, a demon head, or more specifically a guardian head that shoots out fire out of its skull in 3 different ways. And last but definitely not least, a beating heart that spawns a clone of yourself and attacks enemies with a railgun. One of the most diverse set of weapons I've ever seen in an FPS. With that being said, the weapons can feel a bit unbalanced at times, and I'm not really quite sure how to explain it. They're badass, don't get me wrong. You'll see what I mean if you've never played it. Though Wang is Chinese and he makes it clear that he is, the game feels like it fuses Chinese and Japanese cultures. His voice is one of those stereotypical, I can't speak English even if you killed me type of accents, which is already funny, but most of his one-liners are just downright ridiculous. If you look in the correct areas, you can find hidden naked anime girls scattered throughout the game, which is actually kinda cool that they decided to put that in here.
She says she. You want to wash Wang? Or you want to watch Wang wash Wang? You go poo-poo. I leave room. Hey, Peaches, how about you moon me?
I don't think my mother would approve.
Hey, baby, you in bed? Is there room for 2?
Here, this will help you on your mission.
Want to cruise with Wang?
Maybe later, Mr. Wang. Wang.
Oh, smell remind me of old girlfriend.
Kiss Lo Wang.
Oh, Lo Wang, we somewhere else now.
Hey, Sonny, I wanted some Wang.
Lady, somebody beat you with the ugly stick.
Wanna get me?
Maybe if I close eyes, it go away.
Shows that the developers might have an interest in anime, or secretly, hentai, maybe. The levels look and sound authentic and make you feel like you're in feudal Japan or some shit. It's a real nice breath of fresh air opposed to a majority of games. Try finding another game that lets you play as a racial stereotype in the middle of Japan, kicking evil ninjas across the screen. Some pretty neat stuff. The level design is great, taking you throughout Japan in many different beautifully unique areas that you're likely to never see in another first-person shooter. The sound design and music are just perfect. The sound of the gongs when getting armor and fortune cookies are well made and feel completely in place. There's so many Easter eggs scattered throughout. I mean, you can even see dead Ninja Turtles in a secret area. After you find Lara Croft,
she's rated her last doom.
You have to ride this magic carpet. And I don't really know what it has to do with anything, but it's kinda cool, I guess.
I can show you the world, shining, shimmering.
And yeah, they give you actual fortune cookies as a plus 50 bonus health. However, while the design is great, it's also horrendously bad. I mean, they look amazing, but the developers decided to be assholes and hide the keys in some pretty damn cryptic areas. A key in level 6, the red key in level 10, yet the gold key in level 9, all in particular took me average anything from 10 to 20 minutes for me to find. These are hidden in places like waterfalls that look like a mere level decoration, or hidden through a wall that looks like any other average wall. But once you get used to the cryptic key hunting shit, it's slightly more tolerable and just expected over time. The sound in this game is really well done and has a criminally underrated soundtrack.
What, you don't like music?
I mean, if you don't believe me, just listen to the main menu theme. Lee Jackson did an amazing job. The one thing that bothered me about this is that they changed the amazing badass songs in the shareware version and replaced it with really quiet, boring tracks that don't really belong in an action game, or let alone a kung fu themed game. This is how it plays on each of the levels in comparison.
Get that moon in here.
It's a real sin to have removed these tracks. Though the track for level 2 is still really good in the full version, they should have replaced the quiet, near non-existent ones with the ones from the shareware. Nah. Anyways, going back to the atmosphere, the levels make you feel like you're somewhere in ancient Japan. The world is beautiful, Lo Wang's accent feels and sounds authentic, and half or more of his one-liners are jokes aimed at the stereotype. Like, for example, whenever Lo Wang finds a secret area.
Ancient Chinese secret.
Or when Lo Wang finds a broken vehicle. I found this so funny because this is reversing the stereotype when people complain about something being made in China.
Oh, must be American made.
Or how the health boosters are fortune cookies. And no, these aren't just shitty little fortune cookies, they're actually pretty funny. Look at what they say.
We're never gonna score! We're never gonna score! We're never gonna score! That's it, nuts!
And regarding all of that, the game doesn't feel ashamed to reference anything from 80s and 90s kung fu themed movies.
Be proud, Mr. Wu.
If you didn't know what that was from, I'm gonna be a little concerned on the movies that you've seen. The game also has a lot of neat little details. For example, whenever you see a little training dummy, you can continuously punch it and get your health all the way back up to 100. If you get the fortune cookie and it happens to be over 100 already, punching the dummy will actually increase it all the way up to 200. I thought this was so cool, but one thing I didn't understand with this mechanic was that whenever you punch a wall, you actually end up losing health. There's going to be a bunch of unique enemies that you're going to have to kill. Most of the ones you'll encounter are going to be evil ninjas that work for Zilla. They're about as standard and unique as the imps from Doom, and they do pretty much about the same amount of damage. If they feel too threatened or like they disappointed Zilla, they point the gun to their head and blow their brains out, and I almost shit my pants the first time I saw this. There's 4 different types of ninjas. The usual ones have brown pants. The ones with orange pants, however, are very strong and can take nearly 2 to 3 missile blasts to kill. They shoot out heat-seeking missiles at you, making it a pretty cheap enemy to fight, especially in larger areas. The ones with gray shorts are more or less the same, except these bastards will chuck grenades at you.
Like Chinese New Year fireworks! Holy pieces of cow!
The absolute worst of them all, and probably the most powerful enemy in the game aside from bosses and guardians, are the Shadow Ninjas. Yeah. This is the mother of all assholes. They stay invisible for a while and it makes them kinda hard to see, because they blend in with the environment so well. On top of that, they rapidly shoot magical fire blasts that'll kill you in a hit, maybe 2 if you're lucky. We aren't done there, nope. These assholes can blind you. Yeah, that's right. Cheap asses. The next type of enemy you're gonna fight are called coolies, and they're pretty much sacrificial suicide bombers. Basically, they carry around these wooden crates packed with TNTs, and they make these kamikaze type of runs towards you. If you end up getting close enough, they explode and they kill you. Or if you kill them, they explode anyways. 90% of the time their quote-unquote sacrifice ends up spawning their ghost. The coolie ghosts are also pretty cheap enemies, and their blasts can take a pretty hefty chunk out of your life out if you're not careful. But what makes them as annoying as I think they are is the fact that they do this thing where they just disappear. Now, it wouldn't be too bad if it was just a visual trick type of thing, but the problem here is when they disappear, you obviously can't see or shoot them. So say you're shooting a missile on one of those ninja guys. Then something like this happens. Like, are you f***ing kidding me? Next up are the Rippers and the Baby Rippers. These things, aside from the basic ninjas, are my favorite enemy to fight in the game. Yeah, they're tough, but they don't feel super cheap like almost every other enemy in this game. They're basically gargoyles that yell like a mutant gorilla thing when they're in pain. I almost feel kinda bad for them.
How's that for kung fu fighting, you chicken shit?
The only female enemy in this game are the assassins, and they're actually not really too bad or unfair to fight, but they're kind of annoying. You'll also encounter some koi fish, some hornets that redefine the term annoying. These creatures called guardians. They seem kind of like demons though, so I just kind of call them blind. These assholes shoot fire at you constantly, but something I did find really cool was that if you give them, you can use their head as a weapon. Serpent gods that start as the first boss, sumo wrestler that acts as the second boss.
Low and kinda hungry now. Tastes like a chicken.
Of course, Zilla himself, and, bunnies?
Horny rabbits, have a fun little rabbit, She says she. Oh, look, you come in the park.
The enemy AI is very good, especially for the time. Ninjas hide behind cover and are hell-bent on killing you without running towards you like a kamikaze bomber. Well, that's what the coolies do, but whatever. That's besides my point. Shadow Warrior is a hardcore first-person shooter at its core. It's not nearly as easy as other shooters, even at the time. This and another build engine game, Blood, are both probably the hardest 90 shooter games that I've ever played. Even on the default difficulty, this game will rip you a new one quite often. So if you're a little pansy that doesn't like challenge, I suggest you either play this on tiny grasshopper difficulty or just avoid it entirely. For me personally, after I finished the game I just kinda thought, that was fun, and then I didn't really look back on it too much unless one of my friends wanted to whip it out and play some wang bang with me. It's not what it sounds like, I swear. It's most likely not something you'd be playing again unless you play old school deathmatch games regularly, or you played it as a kid. It's nowhere near as good as Blood or Duke in my opinion, but I do recommend that anyone who has a PC at least give it a shot. Its uniqueness is something that you're likely not going to see in another game ever again, and it's pretty fun at times. It's also free on Steam for a crappy DOSbox version, so there's really no excuse not to at least check it out. It was followed by 2 expansion packs that were released for free on the official 3D Realms website, called Wanton Destruction and Twin Dragon. Both are literally just more levels of the same game, so if you play this and you enjoy it as a whole, I'd suggest picking those up, because why not? Plus, they're also free. There were 2 novels based on the game, the first one being called For Dead Eyes Only and the other one being called You Only Die Twice. The titles are parodies of James Bond book titles if you couldn't already tell. I haven't read either of these myself, but I plan to at some point because I heard they're a pretty interesting read. Most of you don't have a Time Machine or let alone a DOS PC, so you'd have to get it on Windows 7 or 10 or Mac or whatever the hell you thought to use. Gearbox re-released the game with both the expansions on Steam and GOG as Shadow Warrior Classic Redux. This is likely the one you'd want to get, as it has support for vertical aiming, better quality textures, higher res, updated controls, and a more simplified menu. On top of that, the game was reimagined through a reboot in 2013, also called Shadow Warrior. It was made by Developer Digital, the people who made the game Hard Reset. Both of them are really good games, and I think Developer Digital actually did a really good job with the reboot, and they made it pretty true to the original. But I'll have to give my thoughts on that game in another video because I'm pretty much out of time on this one. To sum this entire video up and just give you a short explanation of my thoughts on this game, it'll always hold a massive place to my heart. I've always loved it from start to finish each time I manage to pick it up and play it, whether it's with friends or alone. The levels are drenched and oozing with atmosphere, Lil Wang's lines and jokes are actually really funny, the combat is pretty satisfying, and the game is just fun as a whole. But it's also very tough, unforgiving even to some of the most hardcore players, cryptic ass key hunting, and it'll probably feel kind of repetitive to most people over time. With all of that crap aside, I do still recommend that you at least check this game out. It's completely free on Steam now and it's not even hard to get running on modern systems. I mean, it runs better on DOS, but still, you can get it running. So there's really no excuses. And even if you end up liking this game and wanting more, just get the classic Redux on Steam or GOG for a good $6. You get better controls and graphics while giving you both of the other expansions. So do yourself a favor and go grab this game, strap on your combat sandals, and cut yourself some sushi.
Talk or not, making no difference. Burn, baby, burn, flames will get the higher. You are the game now, so Low End can kick more ass.